But yeah, in any case, Ro Khanna has come out and has talked about how Schumer must resign. And obviously, we're going to cover that. What is happening here? Sonic Fox, thank you for the retweet yesterday, Hasan. Hey, my goat. Those weirdos. I can't believe Sonic Fox made it to Libs of TikTok, Twitter. Anyway, let's get it going.
Of California. Great to see you, sir.
Good to see you, sir.
Good morning.
So you tweeted yesterday in response to a number of centrist Democrats caving to the Republicans and voting for the shutdown deal. You tweeted this: Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. If you can't lead the fight to stop healthcare premiums from skyrocketing for Americans, what will you fight for? What led you to that conclusion, Congressman?
Just a moral disgust. I mean, I know personally, as I'm sure you do, people whose premiums are going to go up $1,000, $2,000 a month. Millions of Americans are literally going to get kicked off healthcare, and we can't fight to make sure that their premiums don't go up after the Tuesday wins. It's just political malpractice. Here you have Donald Trump on the ropes, scrambling, trying to make some deal, and we basically say, well, we don't care if the premiums go up. Like, what do we stand for? So he needs to be replaced and step down. More Democrats need to be calling for that. The only reason they aren't calling for it, let me be blunt, is because you offend a lot of donors. There are a lot of billionaires. There are a lot of donors that contribute to the DSCC, that contribute to Chuck Schumer. But, you know, we've got to make a choice of this party. Are we going to be beholden to the donors that have gotten us 2 terms of Donald Trump, or are we going to listen to people?
Sir, the cope from the Schumer crowd is, well, he voted no. What is he supposed to do? He can't keep his caucus.
I can't believe that they thought that would be valid. I actually cannot believe that they thought, like, Chuck Schumer thinks you are a idiot, by the way. I cannot stress this enough. Chuck Schumer thinks you are a moron. He has to, because otherwise, why else? Why else would he have done this little scheme where, you know, he just goes, well, I voted no for it. It's like, but you're the leader of the party. You're the minority leader in the Senate. Who would ever believe this? Like, who would ever go, oh, well, he actually did vote no for it. So what's the alternative then? That you are bad at your job to such a ginormous degree? You're so bad at your job that you couldn't whip the votes? I mean, your whip, by the way, his whip in the Senate is Dick Durbin. Dick Durbin voted to open the government without any concessions from the Republicans, okay? Like, it is a ridiculous statement. Schumer is the minority leader. He's either not being honest about whipping the votes and using retiring senators to take the fall so he's not primaried, or he's so weak that he can't keep his caucus together. And I need you to understand, the very fact that Jon Ossoff initially was a yes on the continued resolution, only to turn into a no on the continued resolution, especially because he has a primary coming up, means that Chuck Schumer whipped the votes in the opposite direction. Okay? The very fact that the gang of 8 are either John Fetterman, who is, you know, John Fetterman anyway, or don't have any, or either retiring like Dick Durbin, or don't have any primaries coming up until 2028 or 2030, implies that the Democratic Party knew exactly how unpopular this would look like if they were to concede in the aftermath of an incredible blue wave election that took place, especially at a time when the Trump administration is experiencing unprecedented unpopularity, that the Democratic Party's base of support would punish them. And that's the reason why they went after and got the regular rotating villain structure in the party that exists to do this thing that understandably has been met with a lot of response. When we say it's controlled opposition, this is what we mean.
What's your response to that?
Come on, Schumer's been in politics for 50 years. I mean, even he couldn't say that with a straight face. He controls the caucus. He determines when a deal can be cut. He obviously gave them the green light. I don't think he would even deny that. He didn't call up Dick Durbin, his number 2, and say, hey, Dick, maybe you shouldn't be voting this way. So this is the typical game. It actually, adds to the cynicism. I mean, if he had just voted for it, at least he could have maybe he has a principled argument. But this is the worst of both worlds. It's like, look, I'm going to try to play a political game, but at the end of the day, the premiums are still going to go up.
So, Congressman, let me play devil's advocate here. So what the centrists say is basically like, look, the Republicans drew a hard line. They were not bending. Trump isn't even negotiating with us. They say they will not give us anything other than this. And meanwhile, you've got 40+ million people who are going hungry without food stamps. You've got all these federal government workers who are out of work, not getting paychecks. You've got increasing chaos at the airlines. I know you yourself have suffered from some of the air travel nightmares. We're heading into Thanksgiving here. Like, we're trying to be the adults in the room. What do you say to that?
Well, look, obviously people are suffering. In my district, they're suffering in terms of the SNAP benefits being cut. There's no doubt that on the airlines, I mean, I was just talking yesterday, I was in the airport 6 hours. There are a lot of lines, cuts, air traffic controllers aren't being paid, congressional staff aren't being paid, federal workers aren't being paid. I get all of that. And what we should be talking about is reopening the House of Representatives so we can vote to extend SNAP benefits, pay troops. I think we had a lot of leverage to continue to put the pressure on to do that. But you had Donald Trump literally saying we lost the election because of this. We need to get some.
I cannot believe it. I genuinely, look, I know the Democrats are bad. I talk about that every day, right? And even then, even when I heard whispers of this happening, and I told you guys about it, when I was in DC, I was like, I am hearing some stuff. I'm hearing some stuff that there is a caving that is going to take place. And you guys couldn't believe it, and I couldn't believe it either. I was like, because it made no sense, right? When I was talking about this, I was like, it just makes no sense that they would do this, right? It literally didn't make any sense. And I think partially it was because they wanted to preserve the filibuster. I swear to God. I think it was literally because they were scared that they would take the filibuster away. And honestly, it's either that, because like nothing makes logical sense. What they are doing here does not make logical sense. Do you understand? It doesn't make any logical sense. It defies logic. It defies all logic from like gamesmanship. It defies all logic for why a party would operate this way. It like, it's unbelievable. It is even worse than the expectations that I have of the Democrats, which is lower than dirt. Okay. I assume it was the airliners potentially, but like, once again, why didn't they go to Trump? I still think it must be the filibuster. At least like the only logical sense here, the only logical movement here is that they did not want the filibuster to get nuked. They did not want the filibuster to get nuked. And they were just like, oh, if Trump is serious, like he has the capacity to whip the votes in his party to nuke the filibuster and go with the nuclear option. And then we can't, and then we actually have to do legislation, which will harm our, which will harm our corporate donors' interests. Because like, remember, no filibuster in the Senate means much easier passage of bills. A Democrat president and a majority Senate and a majority Democrat Senate and a majority Democrat House of Representatives could quite literally get together a comprehensive healthcare bill like Medicare for All and pass it, okay? It's a major hurdle. The filibuster is a major hurdle. It's not in the Constitution. It is just a procedural hurdle that exists that has evolved throughout the years to basically turn into this thing where senators don't even have to stand up and deliver speeches any longer. It's just a mere ever-present threat of a filibuster means that every single massively consequential bill has to pass with supermajorities. And I know that the Republicans don't want the filibuster to go away because they use it against the Democrats. Democrats don't want the filibuster to go away because they don't want to legislate. Do you understand? Here's the Fox News host also echoing this statement, which, take it with a grain of salt, obviously. But there was a very, very, very scary lesson that the Democrats basically reinforced here. And that lesson is Republicans can literally get away with murder because the Republicans said, we are not funding ACA extended credits. Okay. We're not doing it. The insurance companies said, bet if you don't do it, we're going to triple the premiums. Okay. We're going to triple the premiums. And the Democrats were like, that's insane. 24 million Americans are going to lose access to healthcare because they can't pay the triple the amount in their premiums. We have to continue the ACA subsidies. And also we need to get assurances that Trump can't just like veto expenditures by executive mandate, by fiat, right? Like, because right now the way it works is Donald Trump can functionally destroy whatever kind of congressional legislative agenda you might have. Donald Trump can turn around and say, nope, not happening. Oh, you allocated funds? It doesn't matter. You're cooked. So that's also another problem for even the Republicans in Congress. But they can't say anything about it because it's Donald Trump. So that was another part of this battle. It was supposed to be continuation of ACA subsidies so that 24 million people don't get possibly kicked off of their healthcare coverage. And also additional clearances that like Donald Trump cannot by executive mandate change previously allocated expenditures that Congress actually allotted. Congress actually budgeted out. They didn't get either of those things. And the reason why I say this is a terrible lesson is because not only do the Republicans refuse to cave on this, okay, they also turned around and throughout this entire shutdown process for 40 days, didn't even try to message. At first they said, oh, they're going to give $1 trillion to Guatemalans. They're going to give $1 trillion to undocumented migrants. That was bullshit, right? It didn't even stick. And then what did they do? They turned around and said, okay, we'll actually lean into the shutdown and we'll actually increase the pain. And because they were doing that so openly, so flagrantly, that they started actually suffering consequences from it. One of the greatest examples is the blue wave that you saw, right? Every single district flipped back to Democrats in Virginia and even in places like Georgia. Like Democrats actually had a incredible electoral performance. And right at the precipice of Donald Trump feeling that pain, they caved. The Democrats caved, teaching the Republicans a lesson that they don't ever have to concede to the Democrats in any point of leverage because they can just keep punishing the public and the Democrats will get fearful and they will turn around and they will concede for no reason whatsoever. I have never seen an instance where you have the leverage, you have the upper hand, and you're actually working for something. You're actually working for something that unites the base, right? You're showing that you're a fighter. You're using whatever leverage exists, and you're actually putting healthcare as the primary reason for why you're doing this. It's a winning argument. It's win all around. So much so that even someone like myself, who is heavily critical of the Democratic Party all the time, shut the up and said, Hakeem Jeffries is my GOAT. Chuck Schumer is my GOAT. They're doing the right thing. Remember, until they stopped doing the right thing. And I guess if there is any sort of silver lining that I can see from this situation, it's that more and more Americans on the liberal side, on the Democratic Party side, who are paying close attention to what's going on, are probably going to lean into our side a little bit further. They are, I think they're on the enough is enough. We're done with this bullshit mentality at this point. Liberals do not have killer instinct as part of being a lib. No. It's not that. It's not that. The killer instinct and shit like that, especially with like liberal voters, people who self-ID as liberals. Saw a meme about you in China on Xiaohongshu already. An American who doesn't love China is not a true Turk. I don't even know what that means. But yeah, you have people like Rokana who are leaning into this, obviously. People like Rokana who are leaning into this discontent. Will has Bilibili griefers now. Sometimes the grand scheme is less defined than we think, and the greater cause isn't being paid attention to. No, I don't think it's like these guys are not thinking in centuries or anything. Yeah, if that's what you think is going on. Centrists care about Republican feelings more than their constituents. They think giving up the advantage will prolong their career because they've done this shit for 40 years, but Republicans aren't playing by neoliberal rules anymore. I can't in good conscience think that they are that out of touch. I cannot in good conscience believe that the Democrats literally think that they're playing by the old rules or something, especially because they were already losing by the old rules over and over and over again. You cannot be that out of touch, dude. It is virtually impossible. Also, yeah, here's Mike Johnson. Like, the Republicans are not playing ball at all. Can you imagine? They're going to, so what? Without the leverage, you just burned the only leverage that you had. And now you burned the only leverage that you had. And the Republicans are not going to advance any bills. Donald Trump is not going to sign any bills. And all you got was a IOU and an assurance that was never going to come out. And of course, the new line of attack is the Republicans basically saying the Dems held out for nothing. They got nothing in the end here. They starved people for political gain. And they're not even wrong. Jesus Christ, they suck. Is exactly what I said. Exactly what I said before the shutdown actually ended. If you recall, when they were on the verge of actually conceding, I said, you will look silly. Okay? I said, you will look like you did this all for naught. And unfortunately, it's kind of true. I do think these 8 Democrats think they're playing by the old rules. They're scared of the Trump overturning the filibuster and think that they can open the government. The ball will be in Trump's court and he'll be unable to fix it. No, I think that's happening no matter what. I cannot believe that these could actually be that out of touch and that stupid. That is, I mean, you shouldn't be able to hold office, let alone ever be hired for the rest of your life if you are that stupid. Okay? Yeah, assholes like Scott Jennings are doing I told you so's. Yeah, of course they are. I told you that they were going to do that. Didn't I? I said it. If the Republicans are willing to nuke the filibuster in order to pass their priorities, then it only exists in order to block Democrat priorities. In other words, these centrist Democrats voted to overturn this filibuster to give Republicans more power if Democrats ever win. And Karen Tumulty, Washington Post chief political correspondent, also has the same assessment, says this was all about the filibuster. A lot of people, I think, are seeing it. A lot of people are seeing the same shit that we're seeing. This is what Premier Spike, for a man with cancer who's a taxi driver in Arizona, met his son. This is Ambiter, operated by private health insurer Centene. This is why we need to extend to ACA credits and fight for Medicare for all. I don't understand how incompetent these guys can get. It is mind-boggling to me. I've long opposed the filibuster, and lots of people will say, well, how would you feel if the R's had united government and no filibuster? And my answer is, fine. It would be better to have Congress doing stuff and actually passing laws than a wannabe dictator issuing decrees. This is my assessment as well. This is also my assessment. Remember, last week I was talking about this when there was some chatter about nuking the filibuster, and I said this is not a bad thing. Nuking the filibuster is a good thing because the filibuster is a significant hurdle for any kind of initiative that you build out. It's much easier to break things. It's much more difficult to build things. And if you are the left party in this country, if you are the Democratic Party in this country, you are constantly trying to expand the pre-existing social safety nets, right? At least in theory. The Democrats don't do that, but in theory, that is what the left party is supposed to do. And therefore, you need 60 fucking votes. You need you can't do it by simple majority. To break things is much simpler. And not only is it much simpler to break things, and they can already do the simple majority tax cuts, just like Trump did and Trump won, and just like Trump did and Trump too, right? Trump also has taken it beyond that, where anything that he wants to do right now, he just does by executive mandate. So it's not like he isn't accomplishing his agenda. So nuking the filibuster in this regard would have unironically helped the Democrats. Partially, it would have helped the Democrats because then they could have a potential majority, because who knows how crazy things get by the midterms, right? They could potentially have a majority in both the House and Senate, let's say, and then it would all be up to Donald Trump's vetoing power. Like, they could just constantly start pumping bills out, okay? And it's such an obvious point that even Ezra fucking Klein is in agreement with us, chat. Think about that. I worry that the Democrats have just taught Trump that they will fold under pressure. That's the kind of lesson he remembers. Obviously, it's the lightest version of how devastating this is. In reality, it is the lightest criticism that you can apply. But it's even Ezra Klein is on our side. Like, think about that. The only person who seemingly doesn't get it is Neera Tanden. Schumer voted no. How about some tweets on the yes votes? What do you mean Schumer voted no? How about some tweets on the yes votes? What are you saying? Again, if that's your counter, okay, you think every single voter is a moron. You think Americans are stupid, okay? And even stupid people know when they're getting. I'm sorry, I do not believe Americans are that stupid. I don't. It's crazy. Any American that is actually paying attention to what's going on here is going to go, why the did you not keep fighting? What are we doing? How could you just like give up without any concessions? Do you not care about the 24 million people who are going to have their healthcare coverage lapse? Do you not care about that at all? Because that's what you're doing. You're admitting that you don't give a shit about that. You didn't want to fight hard enough. And also you're doing it in the worst way possible. You're doing it in the worst way possible, where you're basically showing everybody that you're always going to concede. You're always going to concede. Anyway, even MSNBC is shitting on the Democrats. Let's take a look.
If left or right or more progressive on ACA subsidies, almost 80% of Americans want the subsidies to continue. That's not left or right. That's right and wrong. Almost 60% of Republicans want the ACA subsidies to continue. Chuck Schumer should have negotiated a better deal. He should have been in the public more. He's not a bad guy, any stretch. He's just not the right person at the right time. We're going through a different time. We're dealing with a GOP that's an anti-democratic movement. They don't care what the American people think on an issue like this. So
CNN right now doing a hit piece on Abdul, thrashing him for tweeting defund the police. This shit is so tiring. It doesn't matter. That stuff doesn't matter at all. I don't think that matters. Guys, think about it. Donald Trump and the Republican Party wanted to rob 24 million Americans of their healthcare coverage by refusing to fund the additional subsidies for ACA. And in an effort to get away with it, they shut the government down, and then they threatened by force to starve 42 million Americans. If you think that Dr. Abdul El-Sayed saying defund the police in like 2020 at peak woke is going to be a blemish on their track record when they're actively championing Medicare for all in the eyes of the broader liberal electorate, you are out of your mind. Liberals voted for Jay Jones, Attorney General Jay Jones in Virginia. Okay, Virginia has less of a blue swing than Michigan does, especially when you have left flank candidates in places like Michigan. Okay, liberals do not give a. I'm telling you right now, liberals will, and most people at this stage will vote for whoever the they can. And I think in primary situations, I suspect the more stuff like this happens, the more they will go, I will primary anybody and I will put anyone on the board. I will literally do everything in my power to vote for the most radical candidate at this point. It matters because he's got a center-left competitor that wonks and why moms like. He won't make it out the primary. Wrong. Bernie Sanders is seen by many liberals as a North Star in the party right now. You're wrong. I think when people say, I think when the Bernie wing says that's a fighter, that's gonna go out the bat for you, people listen. Haley Stevens is cooked. Right? Stevens, I keep forgetting. There's another person, Mick Morrow, that is like a somewhat more progressive candidate. But Dr. Abdul El-Sayed will, I think, cook. Yeah. Bernie was asked if he has confidence in Schumer. He said he's backing anti-establishment candidates. Do you still have confidence in Schumer as the leader of the Senate? Schumer and I have very fundamental disagreements about where the Democratic Party should be, and I'm strongly supporting candidates for the Senate who are not a part of the Democratic establishment, who believe in Medicare for all, who are prepared to take on the big money interests and fight for the working people. I have a very different vision for where the Democratic Party should go. If Schumer steps down, who is going to take his place? The truth is, progressives in the Senate are right now. I think there are about 8 or 9 of us. We are pretty much of a minority. Things are changing. As I said, the Democratic Party is very weak, and Democratic Party's weakness creates a political opportunity for it to become a strong party in general. Okay. However, because the Democratic Party is so weak right now, because the Democratic Party is so goddamn weak at this moment, unfortunately, it creates these unique moments of pain, these unique moments of struggle. Okay. Do you see what I mean? These unnecessary moments of hardship. Given the fact that most left/progressive Dem opponents of the filibuster are willing to bite the bill under the current circumstances, shows we really do believe in it. Anyway, here is, what was I going to show you? Oh, speaking of the weakness, the institutional rot, here is Hakeem Jeffries.
Was it the shutdown worth it?
We have waged a battle on behalf of the American people. First of all, Donald Trump and Republicans are the ones who shut the government down. They have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And the American people know it. And that's been the case for 7 consecutive weeks.
But at the end of the day, you didn't get what you want. So was it worth waging this fight?
At the end of the day, the fight lives on.
Any outdoor content later? Yes. In an hour and 30 minutes, I will be going to an antique store, like an antique bazaar style situation in Beijing. It's very exciting. Anyway, you guys recognize the statue room. I was there. I was just there. Yeah, this is a punishing media environment for any Democrat. Okay, I don't know what he could even say in this situation. I don't know what he's supposed to say because they lost. And as much as I despise Hakeem Jeffries, they didn't lose because of him. Okay, I don't trust Hakeem Jeffries. I despise Hakeem Jeffries. He was not even responsible for this loss. It was Chuck goddamn Schumer. Okay, now would Hakeem Jeffries operate in a similar way if push came to shove? Absolutely. I think Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer have the exact same issues. Okay, they are the old guard. Hakeem Jeffries is a younger face, but still the old guard of the party. They represent the old guard's interests. They represent establishment Democrat policies, and establishment Democrat parties policies are that they are going to always concede to the Republicans. They're not going to fight. They're not going to fight hard. Hakeem Jeffries personally also doesn't have the prowess or the persuasive capabilities, right? Not a bad guy. No, I'm not saying Hakeem Jeffries is not a... I think Hakeem Jeffries sucks. I hate Hakeem Jeffries. I think Hakeem Jeffries is exactly the same kind of loser that Chuck Schumer is. Okay? I'm simply stating that fair is fair. In this circumstance, this is virtually entirely in the hands of Chuck Schumer. And I also don't think that Hakeem Jeffries even has the capacity to defend, the capacity to uphold a fighting spirit. Yeah. He also is defending Chuck Schumer. Here it is. Asked if he thinks Schumer is effective and should keep his job, Hakeem Jeffries replied yes and yes.
Yes and yes.
I'm so tired of this, man. I just hate it. And in the absence of no alternatives, it's like, what are you supposed to do, man? What are you supposed to do? Like, what can we do? We have nothing. We don't have any solidarity. We have very little labor union power in terms of like expressing labor union militancy, for example. Like, we don't have that. Like, unfortunately, Democrats are the only game in town in the interim. They are the only game in town in the short term. There's no other viable alternative for pushing back against the forces that the Republicans are advancing, the fascism that they are building. So I don't know what to say. But yeah, having Schumer's allies anonymously brief Axios wasn't malicious, just too weak to stop it, is the same Biden is angry leak strategy. It's PR for dummies. We're supposed to applaud that he heroically delayed the dissenters until after the election. I see Jeffries is joining Schumer on the "we think you're all idiots" train. Yeah, anyone that says that Chuck Schumer has actually whipped the votes brilliantly is lying to you. And you should understand that they think you're stupid. They think you are stupid. They think you're a dumbass. They think you're a moron. They think you will fall for this. And it's really interesting because by and large, most voters don't pay attention to this stuff. Most Americans don't pay attention to this stuff. But the people that do pay attention to this shit are much smarter than this. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries instructed members to keep focus on healthcare and not on a few individuals in the Senate, according to 3 lawmakers who were in on the call. Yeah. And it's also like very obvious. Yeah, Schumer privately fought to extend government shutdown. Sure, and Biden was outclassing all of his younger aides with his razor sharp mind in private. Like, we've seen this song and dance. These kinds of like fake leaks to the media is not effective. It's not going to work. Dick Durbin thanked Thune for the offer.
Leader Thune has also promised the Democrats an opportunity before mid-December to present a Democratic bill on the floor with proposals to change the law and protect American families from dramatic health care premium increases. It is my fervent hope that this ends up being a bipartisan effort. It would be such an achievement of the Senate to finally return to that status. I've served in this.
Yeah, I love that it's like their argument is, nah, we're just bad. Like, incompetence, not malice. Masterful defense, sir, is right. Noah's correct. Their defense against, like, how could you have done the spectacularly bad thing is to just turn around and be like, oh, you don't understand. We're just bad at our job, man. We are just dog shit at our job. That's the problem, sir. I'll have you know, I'm not evil. I'm just horrible at my job. Great. Love to hear that. Love to hear that from this insanely incompetent party at a time when there is like exceptional pain, at a time when there's exceptional pain being unleashed by the right-wing forces in this country, and people are desperate for a crumb of defense, a crumb of community defense, a crumb of pushback, especially when they actually had it. It blows my mind. They had it. It was working. I'm sorry. This is everything that I complain about in real time, happening, unfolding in ways that even liberals can see. It blows my mind. Like, it genuinely feels like, look, Democrats are the controlled opposition party is something that we say all the time because exactly this kind of behavior, right? It's like, it feels like they just straight up got together and said, things are getting too good for us. People are going to get the wrong idea that we have to like actually fight back against Trump. And we don't want to do that. For the first 9 months, they have experienced unprecedented, historic levels of disapproval. But the Trump administration is so bad that people finally are like, okay, well, at least like the not Trump vote seems a lot better for us now than ever before. Holy shit, even though you're not doing anything. And these guys were like, no, you misunderstood. We are still awful. Make no mistake. We will you. Make no mistake. We want to make sure that you understand Republicans are actually the only game in town, I promise.
Said for 29 years, and I've never seen that kind of offer from a Senate majority.
Do you think this will ultimately hurt the Republican Party worse down the line for refusing to negotiate? Everything that the Republican Party does hurts the Republicans because the Republican agenda hurts the voters on both sides. Okay? The point here is not just to make the Republicans erode American democracy, with Gestapo operations happening in blue cities and refusing to fund SNAP, things of that nature. The point is to actually put up a strong response against that so your voters have confidence that you actually have their back. And they did that. They did that to a certain degree. They did that in the shutdown operation. They pushed back and the voters rewarded them. And then they turned around and were like, whoa. I don't want you to get too confident here, okay? We're still up the bag. We will let Trump molest the money. We will let Trump molest you in general. We don't care.
During the historic roll call last night, I walked across the aisle and met with Senator John Thune, the Republican leader. I told him that I was counting on him to keep his word on this agreement. He assured me he would.
Oh, hell yeah.
The fate of this effort depends on both the Senate and the House of Representatives. After a 7-week absence, the Speaker Johnson needs to call his members back and join us in the hard work that lies ahead. Many of my friends are unhappy. They think we should have kept our government closed indefinitely to protest the policies of the Trump administration.
That's not like, remember, Dick Durbin is the second in command in the Senate Democratic Party. Okay, did you get sponsoring for promoting the new Vince Gilligan TV show? No. I would, though. I really liked it. I watched the first 2 episodes and I loved it. Anyway, Dick Durbin is the second in command. He is the whip. Okay, he's the minority whip. And he's over here being like, many of our colleagues are upset that we did the right thing. It's like, dude, your job is to your job under normal circumstances is supposed to be to tell everyone that would say something like that to shut the up. That is your job, brother. And you're the one saying it? Are you kidding me? Of course he's saying it because he's retiring. So he doesn't give a shit. So you can't even do anything to him. He's retiring and his children and his grandchildren are always going to get cushy jobs because of all the corporate interests that he actually advanced while he was in this key position of power, including but not limited to this last moment. Okay?
The opinions of this administration, but cannot accept a strategy which wages political battle at the expense of my neighbor's paycheck or the food for his children. Mr. President.
Yeah, Republicans also predicted that they would cave. They were relying on it. Yeah. A group of Senate Democrats give in and agree to deal with the Republicans that would reopen the government without a guarantee that ACA subsidies would be extended. Republicans had predicted that Democrats would cave on the government shutdown as soon as the election was over because they were only keeping the standoff going to motivate their base. Republicans know. Republicans know. that their enemies do not care about the population, okay? Republicans don't care about it either. But at least Republicans are honest about their lack of interest in helping the working class, at least in their agenda, okay? Democrats lie and act as though they do care about the working class, only to sell them down, sell them out in this moment of maximum leverage for no reason. Here's Mike Johnson in the House saying it's not happening.
We'd like to bring back to the table because that will actually solve the problem and not just subsidize insurance companies.
So you're not committing to bringing up a bill?
I also hate when Republicans use my arguments about the ACA. Like when they also say that about the unimaginable cost of like higher education in this country, where they'll be like, oh, it's because like loans are subsidizing these institutions. It's like, yeah, that's my job. That's my argument. You can't use that. Because he's not wrong. When the Republicans say, why are we doing these Band-Aid solutions? We're just giving subsidies to private insurance companies. They're not wrong. Except the alternative to that is Medicare for all. The alternative to that is socialized medicine. Cutting out the insurance companies in its entirety. Unless it's something like super, it's just like a super rare thing that you want to get, like an elective or something. It blows my mind that these guys also had the audacity to make the correct argument against the ACA subsidies while simultaneously just continuing to advance deregulation in that front.
That deals with the Obamacare subsidies before they expire.
I'm not committing to it or not committing to it. What I'm saying is that we do a deliberative process. That's the way this always works, and we have to have time to do that, and we will in a bipartisan fashion.
If something passes the Senate,
we'd like...
Yeah, and also here. Senate votes 53-47 to shoot down the Baldwin Amendment to extend ACA funds for 1 year. A party line vote with every Republican rejecting it. An important vote in this series is Tammy Baldwin's proposal to extend ACA expiring funds for 1 year is structured as a motion to table, i.e. scrap it from the amendment tree, but it'll show the appetite or lack thereof in the Senate to address this issue. What an utter humiliation, dude. News: House Democratic leadership is officially whipping no on the bill to reopen the government. The average monthly SNAP benefits is $177 a person. The average ACA benefit is up to $550 a person per month. People want us to hold the line for a reason. This is not a matter of appealing to a base. It's about people's lives. Working people want leaders whose word means something. Yeah, stop criticizing them. The GOP gave them their word. Is not good enough for you? I know you're saying that as a joke, but there are people who unironically have that opinion. And of course, while the Republicans have openly said that they're just not doing the ACA subsidies at all by vote, which is the least surprising thing of all time. It's the least surprising thing at all time. What's really interesting about this process also is the Republican line of attack against the Democrats. And once again, the Democrats have given the Republicans a gift-wrapped opportunity to say the truth. Here it is.
How are Republicans going to use leverage in their fight with Democrats when the Democrats are actually the ones with the upper hand in the eyes of voters?
Oh, I'm sure Democrats will be more than happy to open the government now. The election's over. I mean, part of the reason they shut it down was to get through tonight.
I mean, I
would suspect they'll be glad to open it up by the end of the week.
Adam Schiff, he was like, hold the line.
AOC, there's lots of rumors of people wanting to open it.
Look, I don't see what is the incentive for Democrats to back down when voters are basically saying Trump's not doing enough, it's the Republicans' fault, and then they...
Do you think Xi is aware of you? No, of course not. That's crazy.
They basically handed the keys in this past election to the Democrats. Where's the leverage?
Again, these are blue states electing Democrats, not a shock. Democrats clearly wanted this shutdown to get through Election Day. I do think they are facing pressure from their internal coalitions. The unions, the air traffic controllers, the government employee unions are desperate to get the government back open. They're feeling a little bit of internal heat. But again, the election's now over. I'm sure tomorrow morning phones will start ringing and it'll be open soon enough. This was a political shutdown, and that's what they did. And now,
incredible. Yeah. Why is he always on there? Because he's a high-paid CNN special correspondent.
And I think we could have gotten an extension. Could we have gotten it permanent on the tax credits? Maybe not. But a year? I mean, there were Republican House members like Lawler who were willing to give a year. And the fact is that we got nothing. I mean, that's what is so frustrating about the situation.
And then, I mean, how do you think Leader Jeffries is going to handle this in the House of Representatives, Congressman?
So far, he is saying that we're going to fight it with any procedural vote we can. I mean, we need a few Republicans to break. They may break, depending on what the bill is. So the Democrats in the House are going to stay united and fight for the stopping the premium increases.
You know, back to on the point with Schumer, one of your colleagues, Mark Pocan, also tweeted this out. He said, "Don't endorse or say who you voted for in NYC, despite there being a Dem candidate. Get Dem senators to negotiate a terrible deal that does nothing real about healthcare. Screw over a national political party. Profile of courage of." Profile, I think he meant to say profile of courage, question mark, next. So clearly your sentiment is shared by at least some of your colleagues. You know, and I think the point he makes there too about Chuck Schumer refusing to even say who he voted for in New York City, I think it's an important one as well. Because if you're gonna be a leader of the Democratic Party, and the Democratic base is saying, hey, this is Zohran Mamdani, this is our guy. Like, we like this guy. We like the direction he's going for. We're going to vote for him in the primary. We're going to show up in record-breaking numbers to vote for him in the general election, make sure that he wins. And you can't even say that you voted for the Democratic candidate? I mean, how out of step are you with your own voters in the party, let alone, you know, your own caucus, let alone, you know, colleagues such as you? But he's also, and most importantly, wildly out of step with where his own voters are within the Democratic Party.
So you're absolutely right. I mean, look, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. You had Chuck Schumer cheerleading into the war in Iraq. You've had Chuck Schumer cheerleading for a blank check to Netanyahu. You've had Chuck Schumer betraying us on the first shutdown. You then had Chuck Schumer given multiple opportunities after Zohran won the primary to at least endorse him, even if it was a pro forma endorsement. He doesn't do that. And now he's not even willing to fight to make sure that the ACA subsidies don't increase. So to your earlier question about, are there difficult questions on SNAP benefits and troop pay? Of course there are. And maybe if this was the only context, Chuck Schumer would have some grace and goodwill and say, okay, we disagree with this deal, but it's not enough to call for you to step down. But this is the culmination of someone who just doesn't get it, who doesn't get how much people are hurting, who doesn't get where the base of this party is, who doesn't get how upset this party has been that we're giving all this money to overseas wars and not doing health care here, who certainly is never going to support Medicare for all. He's just out of touch. He's not the future of the party.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, Congressman. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
So knives are out, it looks like, for Chuck Schumer. Ro Khanna is already calling for him to be replaced. What message do you have for Schumer tonight?
Well, I think he made a mistake in going too far.
Going too far, how?
Well, he just went too far. He thought he could break the Republicans, and the Republicans broke him. But he did think that we have good policy, they have bad policy. And there's something, I don't know if it's Trump derangement or are they just crazed. They're like crazed lunatics. But, you know, we have just great policy.
It's literally not. I mean, it's just, they aren't even an opposition, bro. I know. I already covered this. Republicans have predicted that the Democrats would cave on the government shutdown. They're not an opposition party. They do not behave like an opposition party. Okay? They do not. It's nutty. There's a bunch of crazy Trump votes in there as well. Yeah, Energy Momentum says, so he just sucks on the Axios report that is trying to defend Chuck Schumer for some weird reason by being like, oh, you don't understand. We just like, you don't get it. We just like suck. We're not evil. We're just incompetent. Adam Johnson, the we are not evil, just weak is the prevailing self-narration of Dem elites. It's the go-to. And while it's tempting for a jaded whisper leftist to indulge this narrative, is usually not true. They usually knowingly do the bad thing and just leak stories of being bumbling. Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. Hello?
Good people.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News.
Meeting with the Syrian president earlier today, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a big ally of yours, said that she would rather see you focused on nonstop domestic policy meetings here at the White House instead of nonstop foreign policy meetings. What's your response to her saying that, and also saying that grocery prices are up and not down, as you said?
Yeah, so I don't know what happened to Marjorie. She's a nice woman, but I don't know what happened. She's lost her way, I think. But I have to view the presidency as a worldwide situation, not locally. I mean, we could have a world that's on fire where wars come to our shores very easily if you had a bad president. We had a horrible president, and we ended up with Russia, Ukraine, and we ended up with other disasters too. Don't forget, I put out 8 wars, 9 to come. I think I'll get the other one taken care of, but I put out 8 wars. And look at the damage that Russia, Ukraine has done to us as a country. I mean, we spent $350 billion. We're not spending any money anymore. Now they pay us through NATO. You know, I got NATO to go from 2% to 5%. Well, that's very important. When you're president, you really sort of have to watch over the world because you're going to be dragged into it. Otherwise, you're going to be dragged into a world war. I think if I weren't president, first of all, that war would...
Might as well say whatever the he wants, honestly, at this point. He can say whatever he wants. Who's going to push back? Who's going to be like, no, you're wrong? Who? You know? Who's going to say, no, I don't think so? Does that even exist? Yeah, MTG wants to run. MTG wants to run as possibly for president, it seems. Here, Matt Iglesias also had an interesting take, which is surprising to say. I think if you want to understand what the minority Senate Dems who are supporting this deal are thinking, you actually do have to set the politics aside. They're concerned about the harm the shutdown is doing and high-mindedly want to bring it to an end. Interestingly stupid. I would say it's true that the shutdown is causing harm, but the public is blaming Trump and he's crashing out and picking intra-party fights about the filibuster to try to save his ass. But the Dems don't necessarily all believe their own story about blame and feel guilty. I don't think so. I don't think these are like real human beings. I just don't. I respect that perspective, and I want someone somewhat reserved judgment until I understand more of the details of what's in the appropriations bills. No, I think that if they recognize the harm and also simultaneously understand that the people are blaming Trump for it, which you're supposed to blame, the blame is being appropriately directed at the Republicans, but you still care about, like, you know, saving the citizenry or something, right? And you're too pussy to fight back. You wouldn't have delegated the responsibility of the continued resolution to the 8 senators that are high-ranking, older, and don't have any additional career ambitions or won't be primaried until 2028 or even in 2030, okay? If that was the case, then John Ossoff would be the spoiler. John Ossoff would be the one who is like saying, no, I care about my people, okay? I care about the people. We have to open the government. They know that this was a unpopular decision. That's why they swung. That's why they ensured that the people that were actually engaging in this act were people who were not going to be contested until far later. That's it. I've seen the senators who negotiated this deal characterized as moderates, but when I talk about moderation, I mean take positions the public agrees with, not be feckless on political process. Much more aligned with the Auchincloss perspective. Even when Matt Iglesias has an agreeable take, he still finds a way to be impossible to agree with. Senator Schumer has failed to meet this moment and is out of touch with the American people. The Democratic Party needs leaders who fight and deliver for working people. Schumer should step down. Hell yeah. Congressperson Rashida Tlaib. And yeah, by the way, Brian Kilmeade asked Senator Shaheen on whether or not Schumer was kept in the dark about this or whatever. And they said, no, of course not. Of course he knew. Also, here's Angus King.
Well, Joe, you have to go back to what the strategy was at the beginning of the shutdown. There were 2 goals, both of which I support. One was standing up to Donald Trump. The other was getting some resolution on the ACA premium tax credit issue. The problem was the shutdown wasn't accomplishing either goals, and there was practically, well, there was 0 likelihood that it was going to. In terms of standing up to Donald Trump, the shutdown actually gave him more power, Exhibit A being what he's done with SNAP and SNAP benefits across the country. Oh, by the way, Joe, you're going to love this. Guess who's getting paid during the shutdown? Not the park rangers or air traffic controllers, the ICE agents. Under special law, under that big, awful bill that they passed last summer, the ICE agents are being paid. Nobody else is. So standing up to Donald Trump didn't work. It actually gave him more power. Well, Joe, you have to go back to what the strategy...
Oh, wow. Oh, well, I guess just give him the country. I mean, we already have. Whether I say, whether I do this snide remark or not, it doesn't even matter, you know? Oh, I guess just give him the country. Nothing else to do here, you know? It's just crazy because you know they can be united and actually make I mean, release angry statements and actively fight is just only directed towards their left flank. And the more loud their left flank candidates get, the more snide these assholes get. What is this? Wow, Hasan, you're a huge hit with the Chinese. I've never seen them this excited with an American vlogger. Where are you seeing that? Hell yeah. I mean, I love that. That gets me stoked. Oh, God, it's so... Everything is so ass. Today at the flag thing? Oh, hell yeah. Your China trip is a big deal on Xiaohongshu. Chatter is lying because Speed was getting mobbed. Yeah, that's by the end of his trip he was. And I don't think that's going to happen to me. I'm not going to be as like poppin', let's be real. I mean, he was on national television in China. Like it was, I mean, he was the first to go crazy mode, you know? Look, yeah, there's a lot of videos out there. Look, check out the comments here. On the monument. This guy seems quite interested in China, and his friends just seem to be playing along, forcing a smile. That's funny. I can't see the comments because I mean, I have a Bilibili account, but I don't know what the login is. Anyway, Dems just took the heat off Trump. Yeah, they did. Dems were the ones fighting for our healthcare while the Trump admin held payments hostage in defiance of court orders. Incredibly powerful messaging. Now Dems are bumbling fools who created all this pain for nothing. This is how it plays out. That's why I'm mad. It's true. It's true. I cannot believe we just had the longest government shutdown and it was for basically nothing.
That the next time Democrats have a trifecta, they have the House, the Senate, and the White House, they're probably going to try to pull the filibuster themselves to get a couple of new states in, to get more electoral votes, et cetera. His threat to end the filibuster, I think, scared the heck out of a lot of Democrats. But also his focus on Obamacare and the incredible unaffordability of the Affordable Care Act is becoming very clear. That was the main sticking points of Democrats. They wanted
the incredible unaffordability of the Affordable Care Act is becoming a sticking point for the Democrats is crazy because they have no alternative. Like they literally do not have an alternative. They're not actually suggesting that like they end up pushing for comprehensive healthcare reform or socialized medicine or anything. They just don't have a plan. They just want to talk shit. It's insane.
At least $1 trillion, if not more, primarily to bail out a system that we were told was going to lower prices. Instead, prices have increased 96%.
They wanted that money without reforming it. They just wanted more money into it because they don't want to change it. You know what was so ironic about that, though, at the time last week?
Tell me, Alanis.
Well, I'll make it quick. So Obama was speaking because he was trying to help out candidates in mayoral and gubernatorial races on the East Coast. So you had him talking, and then you had Democrats holding out in the longest in our history government shutdown over Obamacare and how broken it is and how nobody can pay for it.
So what would have happened if Obamacare wasn't jacked up and oversubsidized during the pandemic? Would rates have skyrocketed later this year? Yes, they would have, absolutely. So that just goes to show you the program was overwrought, and that the rate hike and the pain that people are going to feel who thought that they could rely on this new government subsidy, they are now completely left in the cold by something. This was a can that was kicked. You know, Obama didn't care because he knew he wasn't going to be in office any longer. So when the pain really hit, it's like having an adjustable rate mortgage. And then all of a sudden it goes fixed rate when rates are high. And you can no longer afford it. And that's the pain that people are feeling right now. But what the Democrats are proposing is just more government. So every time we have more government in one of these horrific hybrid programs, somehow it gets more and more costly. And the only fix when you have too much government for them is more government. Hakeem Jeffries is running around saying, you know, we have an affordability crisis. People can't afford everything. Well, maybe their taxes are too damn high because they're paying for broken programs.
Like the rent in New York, remember him?
Exactly right.
All right. A column in the New York.
Yeah, no, it's the taxes that are too damn high. We need to cut the corporate tax rate further. Unprecedented amounts of income and wealth inequality in this country, and these guys are still talking about taxes. Where do we go? Like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want to get to? Where just like the working poor just literally can't afford anything? Is that what we want to do? What do you get for breakfast? Nothing. I just got coffee. They want to just melt the poor into biomatter. They want to make AI They want to get AGI done so they can just start melting the poor. I swear to God, if these billionaires actually got AGI, they would just start killing the poor. They would be like, yeah, we should just hunt them for sport, you know? Like, we need to have trillionaires. It's not enough that we have billionaires. We need to have trillionaires. Guys, what do you mean? One day you can be a trillionaire, right? Meanwhile, they're just like absolutely cooked. It's a modest proposal. Yeah.
Times is arguing that before the Senate Dems decided to cave last night, quote, Dems were on a roll, so why stop now? The piece explains, though, Democrats were winning this one. Polls showed that most voters blamed Republicans, not Democrats, for the current.
I just cannot believe it. Like, I can't. Like, I don't know why I shouldn't say I can't believe it, because, like, this is what I've argued about the Democrats for years at this point. But it just still feels unbelievable that they literally said, oh no, things are going too good. Let's it up, dude. I mean, it's something that I called ahead of time, and I still can't believe that they leaned into it. It is bizarre. It doesn't make any sense unless you're just like, no, we want to suck shit. We want to be dog shit. We want you to spit on us when you see us walking down, okay? Walking down the street, we want you to be like, you. It wasn't good for a lot of normal people. Brother, understand something. Nobody wants the government to be shut down, dipshit. You think I think it's awesome that air traffic controls reduced to like 0 people in certain towers in the country? Do you think it's awesome that people are working without pay? Like hundreds of thousands of people are working without pay? No, but there's 2 sides to every negotiation. And in terms of like the political gamesmanship, people understandably were frustrated with the Republicans, because the reason why the shutdown took place is because the Republicans did not want to extend the ACA subsidies, making it impossible to afford healthcare for 24 million Americans. What do you mean it wasn't good for a lot of normal people? I don't mean that it was awesome. I don't mean that it was sweet. But a lot of people correctly were placing the blame on the Republicans. And not only that, but the Republicans leaned into it. They leaned into the mania. They leaned into the evilness. They were like, oh yeah, you want healthcare to be relatively affordable, even though it's like incredibly expensive for 24 million Americans? Well, guess what? We're also going to starve 42 million Americans. It is insane.
Shutdown. And last week's Democrats wrecked Republicans in the elections, and Trump blamed his party's losses in part on the shutdown. Democrats were riding higher than they have been in months. It's worth noting the headline, Democrats were on a roll, why stop now, was changed. It now reads, what were Democrats thinking? Cheryl.
Because they made the wrong bet.
Let's see what Tim Miller had to say, okay? Ready for my most controversial takes yet? The Dems won the shutdown fight. This fold won't matter at all in the next year's midterms, but making the GOP own the dog shit BBB tariff health policies will. Okay, that would have happened with or without the shutdown. That's crazy. That doesn't mean it's a winning moment to just like push the government to a shutdown only to get no concessions out of it, and then just like what? Create chaos and instability for 40 days for no discernible reason. This is an entirely separate thing from the shutdown. This is not an example of Dems not fighting like Republicans. This is a longer shutdown than anything the kamikaze Tea Party ever did. The people who are mad, yes, because the Tea Party has nothing to fight for. The Democrats did have something to fight for, and for once they were actually fighting for it. It was crazy to see. Again, the Tea Party will actively tamper bills because they're like, we don't want any funding. Like, we don't want any increases in funding, okay? That's an insane reason to try and shut the government down. It's a very unpopular reason to try and shut the government down. We're not talking about 24 million people losing health care. The people who are mad about this are a small subset of the electorate that treat politics like sports, and it's possible that they're crying about the fold will contribute to snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. There was no path to getting the Obamacare subsidies back because the GOP controls everything and was never going to do it, and they are fake populists. Dems should run against them on that topic, and they have a great case study now. MTG helps with that. The fact that there was no getting Obamacare subsidy extension endgame was obvious at the start, and anyone setting that expectation was lying to people. Okay, this unironically means the Democrats are still dog shit then. They should have never shut the government down then at all. They should have just passed the CR and moved on and been like, sorry, there is nothing we can do about it. So it's not even so the original premise here is still stupid. You're undermining the argument that you're trying to present. And the reason why you're undermining the argument that you're trying to present is because there is no argument. There is no way to message out of this. Okay? If the Democrats had held strong and gotten concessions because the Trump administration was getting unimaginably unpopular, there was so much discontent that they were like, all right, we have to do something about this. And it was getting there anyway. Then they would have looked like victors. They would have saved 24 million people's health care. They would have continued SNAP funding, like claw it back piece by piece. They would have galvanized the base. They would have shown people that if you actually push back against these corrupt, authoritarian charlatans, they inevitably concede. But they didn't do that. And they taught everybody the worst lessons, that the Democrats don't have your back and they will do something silly. I can't believe it. Tim trying to intellectualize this L. Meanwhile, the actual takeaway. Yeah. Why did the Dems fold when the shutdown was hurting Trump? Matt Iglesias says it's because they felt guilty. The public blamed Trump, but they blamed themselves and felt bad. If true, that's clear indication that they lacked the requisite fortitude to play political hardball. I mean, that's an idiotic assessment. They did not feel bad. That's ridiculous. Oh, they actually felt bad. Sure.
On Obamacare, you raised several times during this shutdown debate that it's clear.
Someone should tell Trump that if he actually wants to erode Obama's legacy, he should do socialized healthcare. Okay? Someone should be like, Mr. Trump, Mr. President, do you really want to make Obama look bad? Do socialized health, do the public option. Shred it. Shred the private healthcare industry. Cut it across piece by piece. Rebuild a solid socialized medicine infrastructure in this country, socialized healthcare infrastructure in this country. It's true. Call it Trump care, baby. I will ride for that, okay?
This was never going to work without these massive subsidies. Now they wanted to continue the...
Yeah, private healthcare is woke and gay. Private healthcare is the wokest and gayest thing I can think of, dude. We want anti-woke socialized medicine. That's what we want. We want anti-woke Medicare for all. MAGA care, Trump care, whatever. Oh my God. You go to the doctor and the doctor's like, you go to the doctor, and if you ask the doctor to call you by your pronouns, you actually get billed, but it's free if you don't. No pronouns. None. No he, him, no she, her, nothing. Like you have to, it's a totally new way to communicate. It's impossible to communicate with one another, but at least you get free healthcare. Med beds.
COVID subsidies. So given the fact that Obamacare really can't survive as they thought without these subsidies, what next?
Well, I watched Obama from when this thing came about. As you know, I opposed it very strongly. Unfortunately, we had a couple of negative votes, which should never have happened. But I said it's going to be a disaster, and I was exactly right. The premiums have gone up like rocket ships, and I'm not just talking about recently. I'm talking about for years they've been going up. And he said premiums will go down. Everything will be wonderful. It's horrible health insurance at a very high price.
Guys, who would have thought they're not going to do that? Because then they'll be providing for black and brown Americans. Trust me, they'll have universal health and education once we all die off, and that's not happening. I mean, it's not the main reason. That's the marketing. The main reason is because it's capitalism, right? Healthcare, private healthcare is a ginormous industry that doesn't need to exist, that actually feeds a lot of mouths, right? A lot of corporate executives, lobbyists, people making hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars a year, by basically denying people the adequate healthcare coverage that they actually paid into. And year over year, the cost goes up. That means people are making more money. The way to sell it to the broader population is by saying, well, you know, black people and brown people take advantage of this too. And they do that. They do that every day. That's why they lie and say, oh, immigrants are taking advantage of our free healthcare, like we have any free healthcare in this country, right? And that's what it is. It's an effective message only in part because there's no one that's actually a lone voice or a unified front. No one that's actually putting up a unified front, rather, sorry, not a lone voice, advancing this like free healthcare alternative. Yeah, Trump says he's about to unveil a fantastic new healthcare plan for everyone with lower cost, better coverage, etc. He first said this just before he was inaugurated in 2017, almost 9 years ago. Yeah, any day now. It's called med beds. Are you doing a fan meetup in Beijing? No, but if you see me, you see me. You know what I mean?
And I want, and probably what you're alluding to, is the fact that I want, instead of going to the insurance companies, I want the money to go into an account for people where the people buy their own health insurance. It's so good. The insurance will be better. It'll cost
Please stop using VPN. You might get sentenced to labor camp. That's really funny, man. I think the real threat here is not whatever made up shit that you decided that the Chinese government is going to do, but actually coming back to the United States of America. The vids are doing numbers on Bilibili the last hour, though the official channel is kind of a flop so far. That's crazy. The official channel is doing worse than the HasanAbi Clips Industrial Complex on Bilibili, but I'll take it. I don't care.
Less, everybody's going to be happy. They're going to feel like entrepreneurs. They're actually able to go out and negotiate their own health insurance, and they can use it only for that reason. That's the beauty, only for that purpose. And if we did that, that would be so exciting. Call it Trump care, call it whatever you want to call it, but anything but Obamacare. Obamacare is a disaster, just like he was as a president.
Call it Trump care, baby. I don't care. Do it. Do it. You won't, pussy. I'm skipping the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing.
Will be unaffordable for working class Americans, middle class Americans, and everyday Americans to be able to go see a doctor when they need one. And we'll continue to wage this fight. No matter what comes over to us from the United States Senate to the House of Representatives at some point this week.
That was House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. The Speaker of the House told House members this morning that they need to start heading back to D.C. now, given that they may, of course, run into trouble as they fly back to vote this week because the shutdown's impact on our air travel continues to worsen, as anyone who attempted to fly this weekend can tell you, following last week's FAA order to reduce domestic flights at 40 airports. As of this morning, commercial airlines have canceled more than 5,000 flights that were scheduled from yesterday through this Wednesday. Around 10% of scheduled flights were canceled yesterday, making it the fourth worst day for cancellations this year. Today, reports of staffing issues at air traffic control facilities have gone up to at least 36, causing widespread delays. Even if the shutdown is resolved this week, we should note, experts say to expect residual impacts on travel, with Thanksgiving, of course, right around the corner. But let's start right now, our show on Capitol Hill with the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Speaker Johnson, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. So every Republican in the House, every single one, which doesn't happen very often, voted for the clean government funding bill on September 19th. Will they all vote for this compromise, do you think?
I believe they will. The long national nightmare is almost coming to an end now, the beginning of the end, as I said this morning in my press conference. It was long overdue, and the irony is, Jake, it really was a shutdown about nothing. I mean, what we're voting on is effectively exactly what we offered them several weeks back. We've added some appropriations bills now, which we're in favor of because it's getting us back to the regular order. We'll take care of some other details, but I don't think Chuck Schumer got anything out of this other than a political show, and sadly, I think that's what he was after the whole time.
So a source on today's House GOP conference call said that you told members that you're hoping for a Wednesday House vote to reopen the government. The shutdown, air travel chaos, obviously, is a, you can't predict that.
It's a challenge for us, for sure. I'd like to vote tonight after the Senate is done, but it takes everybody a while to get back. We have people come from the West Coast. We have a member flying in from Guam, so he has 20 hours just to get to the West Coast and then get here. So we've got to get everybody back. We're praying that they can make it through the chaos that all the other American people have been made to suffer through because of this needless political show that the Democrats have been engaging in.
But you'll wait until you have the votes before you have the vote.
We need to get everybody back. I mean, everybody in both parties, and I've told them to start the travel earlier today. So I expect and hope that we'll have everybody here.
So the Senate bill is setting a date for a Senate vote on extending the Obamacare subsidies, which are set to expire at the end of the year. You have not committed to a separate House vote on the issue. 13 of your most vulnerable members, as you know, wrote a letter to you saying that after the shutdown, quote, we should immediately turn focus to the growing crisis of healthcare affordability and the looming expiration of the Enhanced Affordable Care Act premium tax credits. While we did not create this crisis, we now have both the responsibility and the opportunity to address it. That's 13 members. Are you going to listen to them?
Yeah, I've been in contact with those members and all of our members throughout the entire ordeal that we've been going through. This is a very important point. We were always open to sitting down to negotiate and talk through how to reduce healthcare costs. It's a crisis for the American people. The cost have skyrocketed. It's the Democrats who put us into this scenario. Remember, they're the ones that created the ACA. We call it the Unaffordable Care Act, which that's exactly what's been yielded since 2010, since they put it into law. premiums have skyrocketed. Some estimates 60% overall, and they're continuing to go up.
Well, premiums were skyrocketing before Obamacare, too.
Not at this pace. And the problem is now it's becoming completely unaffordable for more and more people. The Democrat solution is to subsidize the broken system. We would like to go in and look at the root causes of why those costs are so high. And we've been doing that. It's not just talking points. We have had laws signed into law, this Congress, that have begun to chip away at that. There's a lot more yet to do. But we've got to build consensus between the parties. It should be bipartisan. We're looking forward to that.
That's a long-term issue, though, what you're talking about. You're not going to be able to solve this issue of skyrocketing premiums, not just in Obamacare, for everything. Well, premiums are going up in Obamacare, yes. They're also going up for people not in Obamacare, for like me and you.
Well, there's short-term solutions and longer-term solutions.
Right,
You're
so-
right. It's very complicated.
But on the short-term issue of the people who with the subsidies, and that's going to expire at the end of the year, will you have a vote on the issue as your 13 Republicans, frontline Republicans, people that you're the speaker because of them?
Yes.
They're in districts that are vulnerable.
Sure.
Will you have a vote so they can vote?
The very people that you were citing in the letter believe we have to have real reforms. So what I'm committed to, and I have all along, this has never changed, is a deliberative process that we do in the House. We have a very small margin. Majorities, whomever has the majority now in this era is going to have a small margin, and so it requires the involvement of a lot of members. See, the problem that I had with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries is Leader Schumer was insisting that I go into a back room, Leader Thune and I go into a back room with he and Jeffries and do a four corners agreement to fix this. It's not possible. It was never appropriate to do that on a short-term funding measure. We needed the month of October.
Why not? Oh, that's right. It's because it's not advancing the interests of the super wealthy. That's why. Because you love, will you go eat Peking duck? Yes. Because these guys love backroom dealing when it comes down to, deregulatory agenda items. They love backroom dealings when it's about melting the poor, initiatives that revolve around melting the poor. They just simply can never get their ducks in order, their ducks in a row, when it's actually about advancing an agenda that will, in the interim, help alleviate some of the burdens off of the shoulder of the working class. That is the name of the game. Here, I'll give you another example of this, okay? One of the modest initiatives that the Biden administration advanced was cutting out the unnecessarily costly middleman in terms of when it came down to like people doing their taxes, right? And lo and behold, the IRS Direct File Initiative, the electronic system for filing tax returns for free, will not be offered next year, the Trump administration has confirmed. And I said, even the most marginal alleviation of burden from the working class will be clawed back by force if a corporation can profit from it. They got no issues breaking shit. None whatsoever. Can you walk around China with your belly hanging out so we can see? So you look like a Chinese unk? Oh, that's funny. Can you go play with the unks? Yeah, that is real, but it's just too cold for that right now. Chatter.
Over December to work through this. And ironically, because of his shenanigans, they've now taken all that time off the clock. So we have a lot more important work to do in a shorter time period.
Congressman Don Bacon, who's retiring of Nebraska, he's been working with Congressman Tom Suozzi, a moderate Democrat from New York. They're about this exact issue, about reforms on these subsidies, means testing, having the payments directly go to the insurance companies instead of to the businesses than the insurance companies. Is that something you're willing to let come up for a vote?
That's one of many ideas that are on the table. The problem is when you're subsidizing insurance companies, they just jack the rates up even higher. We've been seeing this over and over and over. So the solution is, again, to get at the root causes. I'll give you an example. In the big, beautiful bill, the Working Families.
Oh, that's right. We just, the insurance companies just keep jacking up the prices. Okay, do you have any solutions to that? No, I don't. And it's a good thing that they're able to do that. We should actually deregulate this further, so that we can let the free market do its thing.
Tax cut, we had the Medicaid reforms. So as we've discussed many times, what we did was we went in to eliminate the fraud, waste, and abuse and drive down the cost. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, evaluated that and said, you know what, that's right, it will achieve that. It'll save $185 billion for taxpayers because you got ineligible enrollees off the system. We need to do that same thing across the board through healthcare. We tried that in the big, beautiful bill when it went over to the Senate in the House version. We included a cost-sharing reduction program that would have reduced premiums 12.7% 10% overall on average nationwide. The Democrats fought in the Senate to take it out of the bill. So there are a lot of ideas that we'd like to bring back to the table because that will actually solve the problem and not just subsidize insurance companies.
So you're not committing to bringing up a bill that deals with the Obamacare subsidies before they expire?
I'm not committing to it or not committing to it. What I'm saying is that we do a deliberative process. That's the way this always works, and we have to have time to do that, and we will in a bipartisan fashion.
If something passes the Senate, it would only pass on a bipartisan basis.
Yeah.
Would you bring it up?
Well, the bill that's going to pass
to,
the Senate?
No, to extend the subsidies, that later vote.
I can't commit to anything that hasn't even passed through the Senate yet. I mean, I've never done that. I'm very consistent. I've been Speaker for over 2 years, and one of the reasons I've held the gavel is because I don't go out and predetermine outcomes. It's a member-driven institution, as it should be, and I'm really insistent about that. We got to get back to regular order, and that's what we're doing here.
President Trump today on Truth Social said that air traffic controllers should get back to work. He said he's going to recommend a $10,000 bonus for any controllers who took no time off. And he said, well, anyone who doesn't show up will be substantially docked. He then went on to say, quote, for those that did nothing but complain and took time off, even though everyone knew they would be paid in full shortly into the future, I am not happy with you, all caps. Now, as the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, has said to me on my show and to plenty of other people, these air traffic controllers, some of them called into work and said they couldn't come in because they had to take a job as an Uber Eats driver or a Lyft driver just to put gas in their car so they could get to work the next day.
Yeah.
Do you think the president realizes this?
I think he does. I spent some time yesterday talking to my good friend, Sean Duffy, who's a former colleague, now the Secretary of Transportation, and I was with the president last night. We have a lot of sympathy for the people who have, at great personal sacrifice, gone to the towers, gone to work, and done their job. The president wants to reward that, and that I appreciate that sentiment. It would take an act of Congress, I'm sure, to make that happen, but it's the right idea.
But he says, I am not happy with you, all caps. I mean,
well, look, on an individual basis, there may be some people that abuse the program, but I mean, it wasn't just air traffic controllers, of course. I mean, we asked Border Patrol agents, TSA agents, and many other categories of federal employees, including all the employees that keep this place in operation.
Right, Capitol Hill police officers, right?
All of them, the ones that are protecting us right now. I mean, they've been working without pay, and so we have great sympathy for them. We'd like to reward that any way we can. It's a patriotic duty that they filled for their country.
When the House returns, so I guess presumably Wednesday, if your prayers come true Wednesday,
yes.
When are you going to swear in Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva of Arizona, who was elected way back in September?
Yeah, just as I promised, as soon as we get back to legislative session. So, I mean, before we have this vote that we're talking about, she'll be administered the oath.
After the House gavels in, but before the vote?
Right, yeah, sure, as soon as we get started, yeah.
And then she has said that she is going to be the 218th vote to force the discharge petition to release the Epstein files, et cetera, et cetera.
She has the right. I mean, that's immaterial to us. It's now a moot point, by the way. The Oversight Committee has been delving in deeply to the Epstein investigation, and they've released 43,000 pages of the Epstein files, more to come. Subpoenas are being complied with. By the way, the latest batch was the Epstein estate files that is not even considered in the discharge petition, was never mentioned. But that was a treasure trove of information, and they released his personal logs, his flight logs, his financial records, and even his daily calendar. So there's plenty of oversight. All of that information is going to be released to the public. The only thing they're redacting, Jake, is the names of the innocent victims.
Sure.
And we insisted upon that, and everybody of common sense understands why that is.
Of course, the survivors. Speaker Rick Johnson, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. I hope the government opens.
Yes, me too.
CNN's Caitlin Collins is at the White House right now. Caitlin, President Trump was playing hardball with Democrats and with the public in many ways when it came to fighting to prevent SNAP benefits from being paid and on and on. How is President Trump feeling about this deal?
Well, also with Republicans, Jake, I mean, he was posting nonstop over the weekend about getting rid of the filibuster, regardless of what happens here. And so when we went to the Oval Office earlier today, I asked the president whether or not this deal that is making its way on Capitol Hill right now through the Senate, as Manu just noted there, whether or not it has his backing. And this is what he told us. Mr. President, do you personally approve of the deal that's happening right now on Capitol Hill to end the
Well, it depends what deal we're talking about. But if it's a deal I heard about, that's certainly, they want to change the deal a little bit, but I would say so. I think based on everything I'm hearing, they haven't changed anything, and we have support from enough Democrats, and we're going to be opening up our country. It's too bad it was closed, but we'll be opening up our country very quickly.
Now, obviously, Jake, for the government to be fully reopened, it's got to make its way through the Senate, then go over to the House, which has not voted in nearly 2 months before it comes over here for President Trump's signature there, but he was signaling that, yes, they do have the Democrats on board for this. And Jake, as Manu noted, the Democrats are not getting their chief demand here, which is an extension of those ACA subsidies. And the president mentioned that and referenced that in the Oval Office earlier because there were 3 Republican senators standing there by the Resolute desk, Senator Katie Britt, Jim Risch, and Lindsey Graham. And he said that Republican senators are going to be working on a health care resolution here. He said working very hard on that in a short order. But Jake, obviously there's huge questions of what that's going to look like.
How ironic if the Freedom Caucus or Libertarians pick up the vote, there's no shot. They didn't do it last time either. CNN, was the shutdown worth it? Hakeem Jeffrey says yes. We have waged a battle on behalf of the American people. I know, I saw that clip. She brought the filibuster and they played a clip of her asking him nothing about the filibuster.
Republican.
Oh, the other thing is like Bernie Sanders obviously is like anti-filibuster abolition as well, which is lame, but it is what it is.
Plan here when it came to addressing these healthcare costs that have been rising, what that's going to look like. And this has obviously been something that has been, a long time saga ever since Donald Trump's first term in office. And so whether or not there is any solution in sight, given what the House Speaker Mike Johnson told you and what we've been hearing from Republicans, still remains to be seen as that deadline at the end of December of when these extensions and these of these subsidies expire. What's going to look like after that is anyone's guess right now.
Caitlin Collins, thanks so much. And don't miss Caitlin on her show, The Source with Caitlin Collins. Tonight she's sitting down with Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland, the head Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. That's tonight at 9 Eastern on CNN. Joining us now here live on Capitol Hill, Independent Senator Bernie Sanders. He voted no on last night's deal. Thank you for being here, Senator Sanders. I was noting that you should have those famous, the famous mittens that you have from the inaugural meme. You're about to go cast.
Get some Arterix, What was the jacket he was wearing that everyone was making a socialist, but has a $300 jacket, by the way, type shit?
Your vote on the floor of the Senate, you're going to vote no. You and Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin are going to try to force a vote to extend the Obamacare subsidies. How would that happen?
Very simple.
Do you need 60 votes or 51?
We're going to need, on this one, 60 votes.
60 votes.
All right, and it is absolutely common sense. I think no sane person wants to see 20+ million people see a doubling in their health care premiums and pave the way for 15 million Americans to lose their health care through...
Why is Jake Tapper interviewing the 80-year-old man outside? This is ageist, and I can't prove it, but this is also anti-Semitic.
Massive cuts.
He's from Vermont, bro. He's used to it. Down to the freaking bones, This is the type of shit that Bernie rocks with. That's why he's got all the cool jackets.
So all that we're doing is saying...
He will shit on Chuck Schumer here.
After 4 years of being president before, after 4 years...
He just straight up said Chuck Schumer represents a different vision for the Democratic Party that I do not care for, and that he's wrong. This is an incredibly powerful statement because like all the people that are like shitting on Chuck Schumer are, for the most part, coming from the House of Representatives. Bernie is an independent, but he's a senator. He's an independent senator that caucuses with the Democrats, that ran for president in the Democratic ticket. So for him to come out and say this is huge, okay?
Out of office. After a year as president, he's now beginning to think about the healthcare crisis facing America. Very, very good. All right, why don't we just simply extend the Affordable Care Act for another year and take that year to decide what way forward for America. As you know, Jake, we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people, despite spending twice as much per person as any other country. I happen to believe that the solution is Medicare for all, expanding Medicare to cover every man, woman, and child. It's the cost-effective way to do it. Republicans have another idea. Let's debate it. But let's address the crisis in healthcare.
So there are 48 Democrats. Do I have that number right?
47.
47 Democrats. I mean, you'll need 13 Republicans.
Right. Do I think we're going to get it? No. But I think we're going to put them on the record, going on record and saying, look, we are voting now to force 20 million Americans to see a doubling in their healthcare premiums. If they want to cast that vote, that's their business.
So I had the Speaker of the House on not long ago, I mean, just minutes ago, and he said that Schumer didn't get anything out of the deal. Do you agree?
Basically. Well, it wasn't Schumer. I mean, you had 8 Democrats who, for a variety of reasons, decided not to continue the fight. And needless to say, I think that was a terrible, terrible mistake. I think what Tuesday's election showed is the American people are sick and tired of Trumpism, the idea that we have a president now who is prepared to literally starve children and illegally cut back, refuse to expend SNAP money is outrageous. And the idea that you have a president now who wants to double premiums for 20 million Americans is equally outrageous. We had the American people on our side. We should have continued that fight. I think the Republicans would have yielded.
Are you ever going to explain yourself? What do you mean? For what? Are you talking to Bernie or are you talking to me? Because I think we both do a good deal of explaining ourselves.
Schumer voted no, or is going to vote no, along with you. He did last night. He's going to do it again. But a lot of Democrats are blaming him because he is the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. And some of your allies, like Congressman Ro Khanna of California and others, are saying Schumer should step down from his position as Democratic leader in the Senate. Do you still have confidence in him as leader of the Senate?
Look, Schumer and I have very fundamental disagreements about where the Democrats should be. And I am strongly supporting candidates for the Senate who are not part of the Democratic establishment, who believe in Medicare for all, who are prepared to take on the big money interests and fight for working people. All right, I have a very different vision of where the Democratic Party should go. If Schumer steps down, who is going to take his place? The truth is, progressives in the Senate right now are I think there are about 8 or 9 of us. We are pretty much of a minority.
I want you to take a listen to the Senate highest ranking Democrat in the Senate, Dick Durbin, who's retiring next year. He voted yes on the deal. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I've served in the Senate for 29 years, and I've never...
Yeah, that's the problem, man. Wait, hold on. Oh, we got plan changes. Hold on. Oh, March is coming up. We had a change in the plan. Our girl Stella, okay? Our girl Stella is... How does it feel to be controlled opposition? Brother, Hasan, you're owned. Desu, let the fats die. Lol. What the... Wait, are the Dems capitulating on healthcare premiums to open the government? Sorry, I'm out of the country, so I'm not up to date. Yes, they did it already. Oh, my day-long follow is up. Wait, what? Oh, no. Why'd you ban him? I wanted to see. He waited for a whole day to say that. Come on, chatters. My day-long follow is finally up. Anyways, prayers up for your dog. Please try to be less of a shitty person. It doesn't make it okay just because you're grabbing your mic. What? Thank you for your brave take, chatter. We shouldn't ban people like that. That's a brave guy. He had an important political message. This getting rage baited in China, brother. I am cooling. Okay, I am chilling. I'm Bing chilling. Okay, it's hard. It's hard for me to feel shitty because I'm in China. Okay, I'm Bing chilling in China. And are you guys heading out right now? Yeah, we are. Apparently, I think we were gonna go not antique shopping, but like learn about the history of antiques or something. And Stella was like, let's do something different. Let's do something cool. But March would not elaborate on what it actually is. So we are going outside. Yes, we are going outside once again. And we are going out to see the dynamism of China. We're gonna go see China, baby. It's the Groypers in the chat coming to do fake concern. They're starting to flood social medias with it. They got in my DMs and sent insane shit. No, I know. Wait, what? OJK? Those shops are closed? Wait, what? Okay, never mind. Maybe we're not. They're giving you a mouth cut. Yeah, pretty much. That's what's going on. Can't wait to see you hang with Jake and Bake and Waterland. Yeah. Why doesn't Bernie just out the Democratic establishment on the real reason why they sided against healthcare? The Groypers go under your retweets as well. I reply to one of your retweets and they comment to under my reply bashing you. I know, man. I know. There's also a lot of bots. I'm gonna be honest. I really want to see you from this trip. Was you joining in with the aunties in a square dance? So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do lunch. Okay, Peking duck. And then after that, we are going to go speed dating. And we are going to rizz up Chinese moms for their daughters. Okay, we're going to go to a park, and apparently at this park, Chinese moms bring their resumes for their daughters to try to find an eligible partner. And Will, myself, and Austin Show are going to see if we are eligible. Okay, we do not speak Chinese. That sounds kind of cringe, not gonna lie. Okay, well, you don't have to participate in any of that. Okay, we're gonna do a lover host IRL. Yes, pretty much. And then after that, we're gonna go to some cool shops. But in the interim, I'm gonna continue covering the news. We're not doing the antique shopping thing because everyone wanted to do stuff like workout and whatnot. And the antique shop in and of itself wasn't actually an antique shop where we go antique shopping. It turns out it was just like we were gonna look at antiques and learn about them. It was more educational. Anyway, let's continue.
Seen that kind of offer from a Senate majority. During the historic roll call last night, I walked across the aisle and met with Senator John Thune, the Republican leader. I told him that I was counting on him to keep his word on this agreement. He assured me he would.
So this is part of the deal, that there will be a vote in the Senate on extending the Obamacare subsidies, as you and Tammy Baldwin are introducing again earlier. Tonight, and they're going to, if it fails, it will come up again. Do you believe Thune is going to keep his word and have this vote in?
Yeah, I suspect that he will, but it's more or less a meaningless gesture, because you could pass it here in the Senate, but as you well know, you got to get past the House. You got to get it signed by the President of the United States. Do you think the President of the United States is going to sign that bill? I don't.
As you know, premiums are going up not just in Obamacare, they're going up for everybody.
That's right.
And one of the reasons that we've been told is because people are having trouble, healthy people are having trouble affording it. They're dropping out of the insurance market. And so the unhealthy people who are in the market, right, their premiums are going even more exponentially up than they would have.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the look. That is what happens when you don't have a universal healthcare system. What we, as the wealthiest nation on earth, should be doing is guaranteeing healthcare to every man, woman, and child, and then you don't run into that problem. You're insuring healthy people, you're insuring people with cancer, etc. The truth of the matter is, right now, the function of the current healthcare system is to make huge profits for the insurance companies and the drug companies. It is a wildly inefficient, bureaucratic system that is driving doctors and patients and everybody else crazy. It is unaffordable. We need to get rid of it. In my view, move to a Medicare.
Stop picking your nose, damn. No, I'm pulling my mustache. I have long, dangly mustache hairs that sometimes get annoying, and I just like pull it out.
Your fellow independent from New England, Senator Angus King, was asked this morning to respond to your criticisms of the Democrats who voted yes last night. He said, his response was, "What's your strategy, man?" And quote, "Standing up to Donald Trump didn't work."
Well, maybe Angus didn't notice the elections on Tuesday. I thought that they worked pretty well. Maybe Angus is not noticing the polling, which shows that correctly people understand that Republicans control the White House, the Senate, and the House. They are holding Republicans accountable. And you got to stand firm. This is tough stuff. And Angus is right. A lot of people are hurting. Nobody feels good about this. Nobody feels good about federal employees not getting a paycheck. But we are winning, in my view. I think the Republicans are on the defensive. And in my view, it was the vote that Angus cast was the wrong vote.
All right, Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from the great state of Vermont. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Senator, you say you're fighting on the Affordable Care Act. What do you say to your colleagues who say this isn't a fight, this is a capitulation? You're putting together, you're agreeing to a vote on a bill that it almost certainly will not become law, and you're allowing that to happen.
Well, first of all, there was, as long as the government shut down, the clear statement from Senator Thune.
No, we're not heading out at 10 any longer. The star doesn't seem straight. Yes, it's not. It's a bit janky, I will admit, this hat. But I fixed it. We're not heading out any longer. We're doing it later.
And the Republican majority, and they control the Senate, the House, the White House, was we will not talk about health care with you. So there was no vote that we were going to get on the Affordable Care Act, premium tax credits. We have a guaranteed vote by a guaranteed date on a bill that we will write. Not that the Republicans will write, although I do think it's important for us to engage with them, because we need a bipartisan bill that we know is going to get enacted to provide the relief that Americans need. And I think there's a commitment on the part of many of our colleagues to do that.
But there's no guarantee this will become law.
There was never a guarantee that it would become law.
Well, just to follow up on that, Senator, because we understand that this vote will happen, but a vote on extending the tax credits, it does not guarantee that it's going to happen. So how do you explain, though, to your constituents why it was?
Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, along with Kellyanne Conway, Jessica Tarlov, Joy Jones, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this.
That's my mood. That's my mood. You guys see that? That's my moody mood. Jessica.
This is the 5.
Wait, when is later? What time? Us Europeans need to know around what time. 1 p.m. Like 12:30 p.m. But I haven't, but I don't know. Yeah, in 2 hours. No, oh, sorry. Yeah, 2 hours and 30 minutes. 1 p.m. In 2 hours and 30 minutes. So it'll be it's 6 p.m. in Pacific time. Brother, I gotta sleep. I can't stay up that late. No, I'm not gonna be streaming it. It'll probably be either Will or someone else. Whoever wants to stream it, they will be streaming it. I'm doing this.
After all that, a Democratic Party civil war is erupting tonight, just hours after a breakthrough on the government shutdown. 8 Senate Democrats broke ranks and they crossed the aisle to support a bipartisan spending plan.
No, I am going. Chatters, if something is not on stream, then we will vlog it, okay? Don't worry. There is maximum content for you guys. Calm the f down. News React in China. Guys, did you forget this is what I do? This is literally what I did. This is what I did when I was in Japan as well, okay? Sometimes I feel like chatters are like babies with object permanence issues. Like this is literally what I did when I was in Japan as well. I wake up early so I can do the news. I wake up early so I can do news coverage. And then after, we go and we do like one fun IRL thing. And then Will and Caroline or whoever is like interested in streaming the other fun stuff, they stream it as well. And whichever thing that we don't stream, we actually film. Okay? That's always how it goes. Why are people behaving like it? Why are people acting brand new? Does China have clothes that fit you? I mean, I'm wearing the pants that I bought. I'm wearing the hat that I just bought. So yes, there are clothes that fit me. And the Chinese jacket that I got, the Adidas jacket I got in China. So it's 6 p.m. in LA. This is prime time in the US, even though it's morning in China. That's why people are tweaking. Yeah, guys, it's 10 a.m. here. I've been up. You've been catching shit from both news frogs and anti-news frogs. I know. It's pretty crazy. The hella people were in here to watch the flag ceremony in Tiananmen Square. And then when we get back to the news coverage, everyone's like, "Oh man, we're doing news. This shit sucks. I want China."
Reopen the government. It was simple. In return, they're promised a future vote on Obamacare subsidies. The bill still has to clear the House before it reaches President Trump's desk. And here's what the president had to say.
We'll be opening up our country very quickly.
Mr. President, that deal does reverse the mass firings your administration put through during the shutdown. Did you sign off on that, and will you abide by that if this passes?
Well, I will be. I'll abide by the deal. The deal is very good.
Even though Schumer voted no, the knives are out. Progressives are turning him into the scapegoat for a deal that doesn't lock in any guarantee on Obamacare subsidies. Lawmakers like Seth Moulton and Ro Khanna are calling for Schumer to be replaced. Others airing out their grievances with the bipartisan deal.
Oh, I think this whole thing stinks. And I think most members of the House caucus on the Democratic side are absolutely outraged.
We'll continue that fight today, tomorrow, this week, next week, this month, next month, this year, next year.
What this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse.
There's no way to defend this. And you are right to be angry about it. I'm angry about it.
And some folks in the liberal...
I heart eating shit. Oh, you mean the Democratic Party's resounding message that they're going to carry over to the midterms coming up? I heart eating shit, and you should too. You have no options. You must vote for the love eating shit party. Please keep eating this shit, because otherwise the opposition is eating more shit. Do you want to eat shit by the spoonful or by the shovelful is the option here. Awesome. Awesome. And the craziest part about it is that, you know, better things are possible. We have seen it. Okay. And that's what the Democrats, I think, like the establishment in both parties, fear the most. They fear that you will hope for a better future. They fear that, you know, if you find the courage within yourself, if you find, if you recognize that we do have the capability to fix things, to make things better for the working class, for example, all of a sudden you're going to start demanding it more and more. You're going to start voting in candidates that will actually do that. And then that actually compromises the position. There is nothing as dangerous as the threat of a better alternative. Never forget that. The threat of a better alternative was presented by Bernie Sanders in 2016, and they hated him for it. And that momentum continued to grow, albeit not as fast as you would want it, not as exponential as you would have hoped. But that momentum has carried over year over year. And after a sequence of horrible defeats, even the liberal voter base of the Democratic Party, the self-identifying liberals, are also recognizing that things are horrible and that the centrist Democrats are constantly selling them out.
You want to see Schumer go.
The president is kind of getting what he wanted. It doesn't feel like a gentleman's agreement. It feels like Lucy and the football.
Now you're going to open the government up, and what did you get in return?
Right.
Nothing?
Right. Yeah.
Nothing? This is the end of Chuck Schumer as we go forward.
I think Chuck Schumer, his days are over. If he cannot keep his caucus together, he needs to go. He needs to be replaced.
All right, we've got to have a great discussion. Kellyanne, on the day that this began, I said, we know how this is going to end. It will end with the Democrats having to cave because they don't have the votes. And in the end, it does. But Schumer walked himself into the situation. And now, do you think he'll have to go?
Probably, at least as the minority leader. He's been in politics, Dana, for 50 years, and it's starting to show. So you were correct on day one. You knew how it was going to end. The question was always, when would it end? And it ended almost 40 days later with the exact deal that the Republicans offered 35 days before and were rejected by the Democrats. There's no way to spin it. They caved, they capitulated, they should claim strategic bankruptcy. This is a party bereft of leadership, of vision, of ideas. And Chuck Schumer's had a terrible week. This was just the capper. His week started out with him not even acknowledging whether he voted for Mandami for.
Nothing I hate more than the Republicans being correct. Okay? I can't begin to explain to you how much I despise being in an environment where some of these media demons on the right happen to make the correct assessment. It is so f***ed up, dude. These guys are assholes. They are assholes. The fact that we are giving these assholes not only a W, but also allowing them any kind of room to make correct statements about the state of affairs within the Democratic Party. Very frustrating. It's like, on the one hand, you got the Kellyanne Conways of the world making the correct assessment about Chuck Schumer's ineptitude. On the other hand, you got the Gavin Newsoms of the world taking advantage of the momentum and saying that the Democrats are pathetic. I hate that both, okay? I am terrified of a Gavin Newsom presidency. I think it is exactly the establishment Democrat dream. I know what it looks like to live under the banner of gruesome Governor Gavin Newsom. His worst issue is the most consequential one. It's housing. And yet, more and more liberals are getting on the Gavin train because he keeps saying the right things. He keeps tapping into the frustrations that people have. It's very, very frustrating. Welcome to China. I've been here for like 6 years. It's absolutely the best. It's incredible to live in a country with competent governance. Yeah. New Hakeem Jeffries clip will make your eyes roll all the way to the back. I already watched this. It was really bad. New YouGov poll. All of Zoran's policies have major national support. What? A new YouGov survey finds that nationally, Mamdani's policies are actually quite popular, including 57% support for government-owned grocery stores. What? This is nationally, not just New York City. What? Raising taxes on corporations and millionaires. Strongly support 52%. Some would support 17%. Some would oppose 10%. Strongly oppose 14%. Not sure 8%. It's not like people are even unsure. It's not like there's even a large percentage of the population that's like, I can go either way. People are just like, no, this is what I want. This is what I want really bad. 52% strongly support is crazy. It's crazy. This is straight up lies. We've been told we need more CIA policies in the last 50 years. Implementing childcare for every child aged 6 weeks to 5 years. 42% strongly support. Raising the minimum wage to $30 by 2030. 39% strongly support. Creating a network of government-owned grocery stores. 30% strongly support. I'm telling you, man, these are modest expansions of already existing social safety nets. And the very fact that there is an incredible amount of support for all of it is not even remotely shocking. This is why I said the Zoran method is replicable everywhere. And it doesn't mean it's going to always be the exact same policies, because like you have to adjust it to whatever the local needs are. Okay. But they certainly can make for a pretty decent national campaign. Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? Like even the permanently eliminating the fares on public buses has 27% strong support, 26% somewhat support. So even that reaches above 50%. every single key policy position Zoran has advanced has majority support nationwide. Nationwide, not just New York. I wonder why Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician in the country, you know? How shocking, how surprising. I thought Zoran's success was not replicable. Bro, I live in Utah, and the most surprising thing I heard about Park City was that they have free public transportation. Wait, what do you mean? Why is that surprising? Rich people go and ski there, of course. Half of the stuff that Zoran Mamdani wants to do in New York is stuff that you literally pay for and you get, and it works perfectly well. Or like, think about it this way. Fast and free buses, where does that exist in the United States of America? College campuses and Disneyland. Okay? Like, think ski resorts where rich white people go to. It already exists. Okay? That's it. These are replicable ideas because they already exist. Another thing, government-owned grocery stores is seen as this like incredible thing. Oh my God, it's communism. It's like, yeah, you know where we have government-owned grocery stores? Every state in the goddamn nation. It's called the commissary. Every military base has one. It's just a willingness issue. Okay, it makes sense and it works. The problem is people constantly want to plug their ears and go, nah, it doesn't work, bro. Shut the up. No shot. No shot. Yeah, they have government-run liquor stores too, but that's besides the point.
Mayor or Brooklynite, and wouldn't even endorse him. And then, of course, he's made nobody happy. The so-called moderates, the 8 aren't happy. The progressives aren't happy. And I think if you're Schumer, you also have to realize that this did nothing for the party's identity crisis of which he is in the center. Because if the entire strategy is get Trump, he just got you. He played you completely. Dana, what I don't understand.
Oh, they're closing hundreds of commissaries and trying to privatize them? I know. Speaking of which, the Trump administration is trying to create a mutiny situation. At a time of like unprecedented affordability crisis, the Donald Trump administration is actively trying to make the lives of armed service members harder, which is really funny because like on the one end, they just keep pissing off the generals, okay, by being like, you're all fat and you're all woke and you need to listen to Pete Hegseth, who's hot and sexy and young and knows what he's talking about, okay? On the other hand, they're like, also, oh, are you guys having a hard time? Well, don't worry. We're going to make it worse by skyrocketing the price of groceries by privatizing them. Like, where does this go? I do not know, but it does seem kind of funny. It's like, it's almost like a playbook of like, what are the worst things you could possibly do? Okay? Because without the military, you're right? Like when all else fails, right? When it's utter bedlam, when it's utter chaos, there's a reason why these guys are all moving to military bases, right? They're moving to military bases because they're like, well, if the public actually inevitably rises up against us in like some sort of, you know, militant, violent revolution or something like that, you know, at least we'll be protected by the military. Okay, but you're also pissing off the military. Like, it's just so interesting that they're not covering their bases at all, it almost feels like.
And the Democrats wanted to die on this hill. It's always the hill for illegal immigrants. First, you lied that the border was secure, and you let in millions and millions and millions of them. They got all kinds of benefits the rest of us can't get. Then you stood there and said, we're going to stop lawful deportations.
Who's moving to a military base? Stephen Miller did. A bunch of high level. I think JD Vance did, right? Gonna make us on Raw Dog IRL in China this week. Oh, don't worry. I'm ready. I already Raw Dog IRL. I already went. You missed it. We went to Tiananmen Square for the flag raising ceremony. Marco Rubio, Kirsty Noem, Pam Bondi. It's a suspicious number of high level administration officials that have moved to military bases. It actually is weird. It's weird as bro.
Unlawful people. And now you said we're going to shut down the government to make sure that they get Obamacare subsidies and premiums. And they got absolutely nothing out of it except a headache. If you're Chuck Schumer, you've got to realize this party elected people last week in blue states who never invited Chuck Schumer or Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton to campaign with them. It's a party at odds with themselves. They picked the wrong fight. And I think after 14 CRs going for Joe Biden, they can't turn around and do the same thing for the president. If you're upset, everybody, if you're upset because your flight was canceled, because somebody didn't get a check, you don't know if you're going to...
Dog, clean CRs 14 times for Joe Biden. It's not like there was a genuine agenda item that they opposed. Like, what are you supposed to? And they opposed it anyway. But half the time, the Republicans didn't even need to oppose because the Democrats were too busy fighting amongst themselves. The very same rotating villain structure that exists right now that is pissing off a lot of liberals existed back then too. And that made it so that like the Biden agenda was already undermined and crippled before it even got to the Republican side, before it even achieved any sort of Republican resistance. And the Republicans could stay unified and say, yeah, we don't want better things. We don't want any infrastructure spending. We don't want any spending whatsoever because the Democrats were too busy f***ing it up.
You only have one party to blame, and it's the Democrats.
I want to get to a bigger picture about the American people with Joey, but let me go to you first, Jessica, about this, because what are you hearing? Is there a serious drumbeat about Schumer leaving, or is that just people airing out their frustration for a day?
It's going to be way more than a day. So you remember what it was like after he voted to keep the government open back in March, and people thought, okay, well, let's kind of see how this goes. And it did feel actually surrounding this issue in particular that the caucus was feeling decent about his leadership. Yes, he was not the #1 surrogate out there on the campaign trail, but Democrats were coming off of a very good electoral week. So the big tent was in, full regalia. I was at a liberal conference on Friday, and people were pretty high on the idea that we were winning races, yes, in some blue states, but also in Mississippi.
I hypothesize about what a strong Dem party should have done here. I mean, I did every day. I did. There's no hypothesis. They accidentally lucked into it anyway without doing much because the people were already on board. They correctly blamed the Republicans for the shutdown, and then Democrats took ownership over it for no reason. It blows my mind. It's genuinely amazing that Trump was being forced to shut down a bunch of airports and flights because of funding, and Democrats right before Thanksgiving, when they would have had insane amounts of leverage, went, cool, let's cave. Being a supporter of the Democratic Party in 2025. Being a supporter of the Democratic Party every year is like this. There is no reason to hypothesize. There's no reason for hypothesis. Trump is literally as unpopular as Biden was at his worst, and the Democrats said, let's cave. Like, a lot of people will look at this and go, oh, look at these guys. They don't give a shit. Look at these libtards. They obviously don't care about people starving. It's like, dude, the Republicans don't care about people starving. That's the reason why it's this low right now. Okay? Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about, dude? The Republicans did, like, Gilded Age parties, Great Gatsby parties on the one side, while simultaneously telling the Supreme Court, we must starve the working poor. 42 million Americans. We will take away the additional SNAP contingency that exists for moments exactly like this one. Like, they went to the Supreme Court and they forced the Supreme Court to put a pause on it, dude. What are we talking about? People were very pissed off. It's just so weird how every single time Republicans are about to totally self-destruct, Democrats rush in and do something that bails them out. Probably nothing. I mean, yeah, it's impossible not to recognize it. It's just, what are we doing? How many times? How many times does it have to happen? It is like if the Democrats are not the controlled opposition party, they're doing a really shitty job, If they're trying not to be the controlled opposition party, they are doing a horrible job. If they are trying to be the controlled opposition party, then they're doing a spectacular job. This is how the controlled opposition party would work, Like, we like to think one party rulership structure exists in other countries, but the Democrats basically operate as like the junior coalition partner that just goes, we can't do anything. Like, what the fuck are we doing? What the fuck is going on here?
Mississippi and in Georgia. And that, frankly, we were united around the fact that Democrats are the party that cares about people's health care. And that's what this fight was about. And I think the thing that stings the most is that not only the 8 senators who voted for this, but the reporting shows that there are a few more behind the scenes, apparently, that were telling them, please do this for us. We're more vulnerable than you are.
Right.
And that they didn't think that we were mature enough to hear that argument out loud, for them to come to us and say, these are the reasons we think we should take this deal. And maybe we should have taken it 3 weeks ago even, but right now I am hearing from constituents that are hungry. I'm hearing from constituents that cannot get to see their families. I am hearing from furloughed employees. So let's hold Senator Thune to his word. And apparently he and Dick Durbin had a conversation before Durbin, pushed this forward, where Thune said, I assure you I will bring this vote in December. That doesn't guarantee Mike Johnson is going to do it, though. But I understand the celebrating. I feel defeated by this, but Republicans still don't have a health care plan. This election will be about health care. If they...
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But this is a big L regardless. It was an unnecessary self-own regardless.
They are on the record again as not wanting to extend these ACA subsidies that mostly benefit their own voters. That is something that Democrats will be very willing and able to run on in 2026, and that'll spell electoral disaster for them. So it's not as if they're fully out of the woods here.
Joey, I was thinking about you earlier because I feel like you have your finger on the pulse of people. You fly a lot. You're back and forth a lot.
I do fly a lot.
And so the pain became so acute over this past week, and it's not going to stop for a while. You also had military people who were not getting paid. They were having to go to the food banks, for example. There's a lot of people that were dealing with this where the members of Congress...
I can't believe it, dude. The Republicans talking about people in food banks and how devastating that is one of the craziest things, okay? It's one of the craziest things to hear from Republicans. It's like, dude, what the do you mean? Oh, the poor working class individuals, the tired, the hungry. Trump, your guy, literally, personally cut SNAP. And while he was trying to do that, cut SNAP, you were running around being like, well, it's all angry, entitled black women that want SNAP anyway. That just happened. It didn't, that didn't happen, I mean, it did happen under the Reagan administration as well, welfare queens and stuff, but that has not stopped happening. It was happening last week. I was there. We were watching it, right? There was, we saw it with our own 2 eyes. Yeah, while they cut SNAP, they went against SNAP discounts too. It was insane. USDA tells grocery stores no special discounts for SNAP recipients. Like true cruelty, true evil, actually. There is no other way to look at this. That was a week and a half ago, man. That wasn't that long ago. That was a week and a half ago. What the are we doing? What the absolute are we doing? Uh-oh. We got some hotties in the building. Oh shit. Yeah. We got the Chinese contingency in the building. We are Chinese. We're all Chinese.